Well, that was an extendo break, huh? You know, it's odd. I don't know when I stopped watching the live streams for, all the Hoyo games, maybe like a year ago or something. So imagine my surprise when playing through this quest. Man, I'm telling you, every single time they change a voice actor, it's just the biggest jump scare.
Miss March 7th, have you taken the time to consider my suggestion?
Who the fuck is this? But still, nice to be back in Star Rail. I mean, this patch, I wanted a story patch, we got a story patch. Luocha is revealed to be the one who aided Tingyun. Why? Ruan Mei was indebted to Luocha. Why? Jade freed Sunday at Robin's request. I mean, we already knew this, but why? Amphoreus is revealed to have either multiple emanators or even eons on its planet. Why? And speaking of eons, we got our first ever look at an eon thanks to Herta. Why? Many questions. Many questions. Real quick before we start, polls. Got Sunday and his light cone. That's nice. Yeah, I won the 50-50. I won the 75-25. I didn't lose on that. Oh, the story starts on the Express, where we discuss our next destination, Amphoreus, the Eternal Land. We go over what we know about the world, which is nothing, because Akavili never went there, and as such, there's no records of it anywhere. As a matter of fact, it can't even be observed from the outside. The only proof of its existence is the light it gives off from a mirror within the Garden of Recollection. While we get things ready for Amphoreus, we decide to take a little break and enjoy Penacony a little while longer. We then swap POVs over to some bloodhounds gossiping about the missing family leader of the Oak family and recent happenings surrounding Penacony. Before long, dear old Sunday appears himself, but they don't seem to recognize him. Odd. Beside him is a little person named 1 Week. The bloodhounds tell the two the place ahead is off limits, so Sunday says they'll go elsewhere. But as they turn to leave, one of the bloodhounds calls out to Sunday, stating he looks familiar and asking if they've met somewhere before. Sunday then voodoos the bitch to get her to fuck off. The two then speak in private, with Sunday telling 1 Week he's the only one he can rely on now. And when 1 Week asks about Robin, Sunday says, she suffered enough because of me. No point in bothering her. When asked if he's going to see Robin again, he responds no. I mean, yeah, okay, we'll see how long that lasts. The pair head to their next location, where we spot more bloodhounds guarding Iodine Park and wonder what's going on. 1 Week questions why he must be with Sunday every leg of the trip, to which Sunday responds with something very interesting. A bit of foreshadowing, maybe. He states 1 Week is only alive today because of him. When questioned about how Sunday became a free man fugitive, whatever terminology you want to use there, Sunday states he isn't really sure himself. A shot back to an imprisoned Sunday once again shows Jade freeing him before reminding him this is a trade. Let's not forget, Robin made some fucking deal with Jade to free Sunday, which, we still don't know the specifics of. As for why he's come back to Penacony, it's to say goodbye. How sentimental. Be like if Timothy McVeigh went back to Oklahoma one last time before he got executed. When pressed on the issue further, Sunday reveals that despite the Order having been defeated, there are still more than likely traces of it he'd like to eliminate. He then just speaks about, some fucking shirts.
The tie should be on the center line. The shirt must not protrude from the vest. Trouser creases should be perfectly straight and always aligned with the tips of your shoes. We should always ensure that everything is in order before walking out the door.
Penacony's writing team, how I've not missed you. When the two approach the bloodhounds on guard, they just fucking voodoo themselves in. The guards state they're guarding the park because of odd circumstances. There are apparently rules in the park that must be obeyed lest corrective measures be taken. Sunday reveals he once ran the park, and the rules he instated carried the weight of God. It's currently dealing with the after echoes of the rules that were once during Sunday's old reign of the park. So we go to test them out and see what happens. One such rule is you can't eat anything on park grounds other than burgers. So 1 Week devours an ice cream and nothing happens. We test another rule, only crew and cast allowed on the stage, and we find out when we step foot onto the stage, we're bounced back off of it. This is the corrective measure, and it's then the burger-only measure is enforced, as 1 Week is forced to vomit his ice cream, who then acquires a thirst for blood. Anyway, we fix the park and then leave for OT Mall, but as we are about to head out, OG appears. He warns us of OT Mall, telling us odd things have been happening there. And all the while, we finally understand why no one has seen Sunday, and it's because the voodoo makes him look like an Interrelian. How do you say this thing? Interrelian? Megatron! Sunday thanks Welt for the heads up and says they will make a detour. As they attempt to head off, Welt stops them. The two become scared. Welt narrows his eyes. And Welt says to look both ways before crossing. Once in the clear, the two thank God himself Welt didn't see through the facade, but Sunday is curious why the Express is still in Penacony. They head for OT Mall anyway, but then Sunday feels the presence.
Seems I let my wishful thinking get the best of me. Will you at least give me a chance to explain?
I will.
Oh, you don't fuck around! Welt demands Sunday answer him with brevity to avoid the voodoo bullshit. Sunday then admonishes the fact that people know him only for the voodoo bullshit, despite having used the voodoo bullshit several times already. Sunday then tells Welt everything, who agrees to let Sunday say goodbye to his home, but only if Welt is there every step of the way. Good companion, that Welt feller. Welt does say, however, the rest of the crew needs to know about this, so we go to them. On the way, Sunday asks why the Express is still on Penacony, wondering if something else befell the land after his imprisonment, to which Welt responds, they're just here to pick someone up and drop him off somewhere else, and boom, there she is. No, there they are. March then confronts Welt about the collective of Tingyuns, but before we get an explanation, we swap over to Himiko and Screwlum on the Feldspar where they discuss Amphoreus and tell us something very interesting. Because Amphoreus is a world where its only proof of activity are traces left behind in the mirror of the Garden of Recollection, and normal Pathstriders cannot leave traces in the mirror, this means Amphoreus is dealing with something much, much bigger. Bare minimum, emanators. Maximum, aeons. Given Amphoreus is being influenced by 3 paths, that means at least 3 emanators or aeons. Currently, we know of one of these paths, and it's the erudition. Himiko mentions Herta is looking up some more info on the planets, and then the conversation switches to Ruan Mei and her partner, a Foxian she saved. Himiko mentions Tingyun wanted to squander a bit before returning to the Luofu. Back to Welt and friends, we find out the truth of the 1,000 Tingyun's mystery, and it turns out while exploring Penacony, Tingyun, the Trailblazer, and March ran into a Pepeshi, filming a Try Not to Laugh challenge. But, this one's different than the one you might know of. This one involves a candy that makes you laugh. March and the Trailblazer failed the challenge, but upon Tingyun consuming the candy, she just sneezed and multiplied, and alas, here we are. Sunday gives a fucking nerd answer as to why this happened, and when he drops the disguise, March and the Trailblazer finally meets dear old Sunday. Welt fills us in, and we're cool with it, because Welt is cool with it. We speak with some of the Tingyuns, but they're all just fucking bizarre. We find one normal Tingyun, and 1 week does the voodoo shit on her to rejoin all the Tingyuns, but while doing it, he sees a blood-red Tingyun laughing, which confuses 1 week. But before long, the voodoo works.
Never did I expect that every encounter with you would always be in moments of distress. Did I conduct myself improperly?
Tingyun looks fine, mighty fine, damn fine, but 1 week does not. He's still reeling from his encounter, but assures everyone it's fine. In private to Sunday, however, he admits he nearly died just now. Which, hey, props to him. That's a good-ass poker face. No whining, no bitching. I love him. My new favorite character by default. We then switch shots to Tingyun in a lab of some sorts. Tingyun is lost and confused. And here's the voice of Ruan Mei, disembodied voice of Ruan Mei, telling her to be not afraid, and she's not alone. Tingyun is suffering from amnesia and questions her identity. We follow the path and overhear some scientists talking about a person from the Xianzhou in a life pod. This person was destroyed by a Lord Ravager, so they question how this person can possibly be brought back to life. But because Ruan Mei says it's possible, it's possible. We find notes that just state Tingyun cannot recall the attack. Ruan Mei then tells Tingyun she has wounds left by the destruction in her body, wounds that cannot be removed, so best we can do is coexist with these scars. We then see Ruan Mei, who says you either finna die and let the scars die, or return to the waking world and bring the scars with you. Ruan Mei turns her head towards another Tingyun in a life pod, which Tingyun takes to mean she's dead, to which Ruan Mei says, yeah, kinda. The funniest conversation of the entire game then happens. When Tingyun asks why Ruan Mei is doing all this for her, Ruan Mei says she believes the desire to live was born from nothing, and as such requires nothing. It's just innate. So Tingyun can prove her rights by choosing life, or prove her wrong and just fucking die. Either scenario would be satisfactory. The implication, of course, being she cares more about whether she's right or wrong than Tingyun's life, which, I mean, hey, I was crying when I read this shit. Look, the bitch, she doesn't, I mean, Ruan Mei, she doesn't give a fuck, I don't know. Tingyun chooses life, and we hear Ruan Mei speak to her directly now and tell her she was attacked by a Lord Ravager, old Fantilli, you know, the old big titty bitch. Tingyun should have died, but Ruan Mei then tells us someone didn't agree with this and requested Ruan Mei save her. Ruan Mei refers to this person as a traveling merchant, meaning this person has to be Luocha, who for some reason saved Tingyun. Why, we don't know. Fantilia destroyed Tingyun's body and mind, but didn't kill her. If she killed her, Ruan Mei couldn't have done shit. She then says she changed Tingyun's tail to help cope with the permanent scars of destruction, but doesn't elaborate. Tingyun says, thank you. Ruan Mei then just says no, because this was a transaction that cleared her debt with Luocha. Back over to 1 week, somehow he passed out as the tuning affected him and not Tingyun. Tingyun just sort of says howie, and then they leave. We go shopping with Tingyun to buy some stuff for the people back at the Luo Fu. It's more a touching first-time reunion. I don't know. All we learned was that we never really met the real Tingyun. Fantilia snatched her body before we arrived. Tingyun says the Lord Ravager took something from her, so she's going to take something from the Lord Ravager. Our friendship.
And now, I will reclaim everything I have lost. And it should begin with a proper acknowledgement.
She's gonna say it.
Dear benefactors, I extend my heartfelt gratitude to you.
Aw, isn't that sweet, fellas and gals? You know, the bitch sounds a bit depressed, but, we'll make do with what we got. We then head to the Feldspar to meet up with Himiko and a messenger from the Zien, Zhou, who happens to be Yukong. Who could have seen that shit coming? We leave them to talk in private, where Tingyun asks Yukong an interesting question. Must she go back to Luigi? Oh no, oh, that's autocorrect. Back to the Luo Fu. To Luigi. What? What's wrong with my nigga Luigi, bro? Yukong asks, what's wrong with the Luo Fu? To which Tingyun states, she simply feels like a pawn from Fantilia, I'm not gonna say sparing, but not killing her, the merchant saving her, and then Ruan Mei nursing her back to life. Yukong adds the merchant who saved her is on the Yu Chui. So yeah, this is Luocha. That's where they locked bro up, bro. We gonna free that nigga soon, bro, on moms. Tingyun adds she'd like to meet with the Marshal to have her body aid in any way it can to help the Alliance fight the destruction. Yukong sorta agrees, stating they all came to the conclusion after Ruan Mei's reports that Fantilia intended for Tingyun to die and shouldn't be counting on her being alive, so keeping her resurrection a secret could be a good thing. Tingyun says she'd like Yukong to meet someone, and by God above, it's another Tingyun. This is one of the Tingyuns from the 1,000 Tingyuns earlier from, this bitch just, I guess it's just a fucking roamer. She just roams. She was a childlike innocence and just decided to board the Feldspar to gaze the sky to remind her of the first time she did on a Yukong flight. Tingyun now yearns to be a traveler of no return. Tingyun then asks Yukong if she detests the gods using humans as pawns in their games, and Yukong says yes, very much so, but alas, she's only human. What can she do? To which Tingyun says, thanks to the favor of the Lord Ravager, she's now a player in the game, and will do what she can to make him sneeze or some shit. Back to Sunday, he then decides to say goodbye to Robin, because at this point, the fucking journey's gone to hell anyway, so who cares? But opts to keep a disguise on to protect Robin from people who might spot her conversing with him. The two talk about fucking something, I don't know. Look, in the end, Sunday never revealed himself, so he couldn't really say goodbye, which saddens Robin because Robin knew from the beginning that who she was talking to was Sunday. Isn't that sweet? That nigga Sunday, he got no sneak though. Sneak is on 0. Motherfucker couldn't disguise, and it didn't work against no one who has even a sliver of power, bro. Back with the old Yangster, Sunday asks him a question. Why'd he become a nameless? And to put it simply, Welt's trailblazes for people and not for the stars. Hence why he's here helping Sunday and not already on some other world that desperately needs help. There's also the added benefit of the fact that he wanted to keep an eye on Sunday because no one else was. Because 1 week doesn't exist. Sunday laughs at the fact that nothing gets by the boomer and says they have one last destination to visit, and it's the theater. Lovely place this is. 1 week is then revealed to be another Sunday, a more emotionally available Sunday. This one cracks jokes, kinda. Sunday reveals he too took part in the Pepeshi's Try Not to Laugh challenge, and like Tingyun had a fragmented version of himself appear. Sunday also reveals he doesn't have a halo, cause he cut that shit right off to feel pain! And, to hide better. Anyway, the fix here is simple. Do the voodoo and someone's gonna fucking disappear. Either old Sunday or new Sunday. Welt says, hey, either way, he'll be in the audience watching, and he will eagerly await and greet the victor. The two talk, fight, merge, and the new Sunday prevails, regaining his halo.
Planet of festivities, land of the dreams. I say goodbye to my home. One desire to leave the stage for good.
One must first step back onto the stage!
Day, I grant myself departure.
Welt asks Sunday what he's gonna do after leaving Penacony, to which Sunday responds, the Order's efforts were aimed at avoiding the mistakes made by the Harmony. He wonders if the family from the Montour system was involved with the Stellaron on Penacony. He then says regardless, too much time has passed to verify, and even a family head cannot enter a sacred site of Xipe and question their will, wondering if Xipe turned a blind eye to all that's happened before leaving Welt with a warning. The Harmony has two sides to them. They can either be your strongest ally or your strongest enemy. Sunday then pops the question to Welt. He asks if he can travel with the Express. So we ask the crew, who all say yes. So I guess, Sunday's with us now? Is that like really a thing? Like he's gonna be with us in Amphoreus? That's kind of fucking dope. Anyways, Himiko says she's been trying to contact Herta about Amphoreus, but something's gone wrong. Herta isn't responding, and Himiko doesn't know why. We then get this eerie cutscene showcasing Herta with a very, very unusual guest.
Indeed, this is only a minor ripple that no one will ever notice. So, you must also understand, for a genius, the importance of asking questions outweighs the importance of the answers themselves. So-called magic has its own set of principles. There are no mysteries in this universe that cannot be solved. So, all-seeing presence, I ask you this. What is divinity?